All right. We are in the building. I'm gonna use the word ain't because I'm trying to make a point. I haven't been this excited about a podcast since we first initiated Pop's Corner about 2 years ago. And so we're just gonna jump right in because I'm so man, I feel like a proud father. I feel like a proud dad with the guys that are here today. And we're gonna talk about a real serious subject that's going on, not just outside of our community, but it's impacting potentially a lot of young men and young athletes in our community. So I'm going to open with prayer and we're going to get it in. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, I thank you so much for this medium called social media, where we can get together and we can get together as a community and talk about issues that are pertaining to our health and our well-being. I'm so honored and so blessed to have Marcus, Mike, and Titus with me in this conversation. And I pray that you give them the boldness to say what needs to be said and how it needs to be said. They are amazing young Black men that you have placed in our community to impact this community and beyond. So I ask that you bless their families, bless their children, bless their visions and their ideas, and even more, bless those who might come on and listen and be a part of the chat, be a part of the conversation tonight. So with that, hey, y'all, let's get it. There we go. There we go. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's bring in the soldiers tonight's leading off batting number one. Starting out, Mr. Marcus Hunter's in the building. Let's give him some hand. My man, my man. Hold up. I got some technology I got to do. There it is.
That's for you, bro. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, man.
Man, hold up now. And batting the deuce. Number two in the building, Mr. Titus O. Golden.
What's going on? What's up, Pops?
Good to see you.
What up, Marcus?
Good to see you. Good to see you, man. And last, but definitely not least, batting in the three hole. Y'all already know the man, the myth, the legend, Michael Watson, just out here winning.
What's up, Pops? What's up, Titus?
What up, bro?
What's up, Marcus?
Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Man, looky here. We gonna get this in here tonight. And again, man, thank y'all so much for being here tonight. It's really an honor for me to have y'all here. And one of the things about Pop's Corner, as I just put on my heart, is just we just get tough stuff we got to talk about, just stuff we have to talk about within our community. And it shouldn't just come from one voice. It should come from men like yourself, women as well, who are in our community that are doing the thing. And so my role is just to pour into and pull out of, because your legacy matters. You all are doing amazing work in our community. I'm going to have you each introduce yourselves. 90-second elevator speech. Tell us who you are. Let's start with Marcus Hunter. Introduce yourself, bro.
I'm Marcus. I've been knowing Pops for a long time, so I know all three of these brothers on here, man. Appreciate being here, man. Any opportunity I get to bust it up with you three dudes, I'm down for that. So I'm Marcus, man. I'm a contractor. I don't know what kind of formal introduction you want me to do, Pops, but
I'm contractor. What you contracting, man?
I do IT, man. So
okay.
Yeah, and then of course, coach basketball, youth advocate, everything I do in my community. Yeah. As far as things with my church, to things I do with young men mentoring and coaching basketball with mentality. So by Michael Watson, who was on here with me. So you know,
all right.
My heart's for our community, man, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to have you, man. Glad to have you. All right, Titus, talk to us, man. Who is Titus O. Golden?
Titus O. Golden, entrepreneur, I'm a police officer as well. Been with Kansas, Missouri Police Department about 14, going on 15 years now. Started my own business. I have my own athletic brand, Ozell brand. We make sports cleats, sports tennis shoes, you name it, we make it.
See, that, he knew how to introduce himself. I didn't.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. We're gonna learn tonight. Thanks.
Shout out on the shoe brand too, bro. I've been seeing that love you've been getting, bro.
I appreciate it, bro.
Straight up, bro. Rooting for you,
man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, sir, man. Pops, I appreciate you having me on. My name is Michael Watson, retired professional basketball player, Kansas City native, former UMKC basketball player as well. Currently a nonprofit executive director, co-founder of Mentality along with Marcus Hunter. We serve youth boys and girls ages 6 to 18 with basketball and volleyball. Currently 8 boys teams, 3 girls teams, 4 volleyball teams. Advocate in the community, man, and just out here winning. That's it. That's what I do every day. I wake up and try to win.
That's right. Waking up winning.
Did he have class on how to introduce yourself?
I got it, man. My first.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, somebody who love y'all want to say hello. Mom Vicky said hello to everybody.
Hey, Mama Vicky.
Hey, how you doing, Mama Vicky?
She's we got folks that's showing up. Oh my God, Michelle Mathis is in the building, all the way from not Kansas City. That's an amazing sister right there. And so we're excited about tonight. But I wanted to also, because Mike just said something, because it's not often when we get a chance to really recognize our own people. I found this clip, and I think it's really appropriate for us to play right now.
Well, closer to home here, Michael Watson, without a doubt, one of the top players in Roos history. And he had that confirmed Saturday with a first at UMKC. Here's Ryan Marshall.
Yeah.
UMKC retired Michael Watson's number 22 jersey on Saturday night during halftime of the men's basketball game against Cal State Bakersfield. Watson became only the 3rd person in the school's history to have their jersey retired.
I think it's a huge honor, just being a kid from right down the street, literally right down the street, grew up here. For me, you never think about things like this. You think about, you want to go to college, you want to make it to the NBA and things, but you never think about life after basketball.
The KC native and Central High grad chose to stay home despite lots of interest from big-time Division I programs.
Oh, that's Rich Zvosek, the UMKC basketball coach.
What is he doing?
Recruiting.
Wow, definite potential.
Big recruiting efforts by former UMKC head coach Rich Zvosek helped attract young local talent like Watson to UMKC. And when it was all said and done, Michael became the school's all-time leading scorer. His professional career included a short stint with the NBA's Boston Celtics before playing 8 years professionally. As for Saturday, he says celebrating the honor with family, friends, and former teammates gave him lots of joy.
It felt great. It took you back to the days of when UMKC and those guys, we really got it going. With Coach Z, what he did and just, pulling in the community.
He's still a part of what we do. He's in the guys' ears and giving them real life advice and things that he's experienced.
Michael continues to pay it forward, helping to recruit other kids to UMKC. He also coaches AAU basketball, gives back to the community, and is a television analyst for UMKC basketball games. From humble beginnings in Kansas City's urban core to becoming a living legend at UMKC, Michael is certainly thankful for all of his opportunities. In Kansas City, I'm Ryan Marshall, 41 Action News.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, that's right. That's right. Come on, y'all. Let's give it up for our main man.
Bob, you funny, man. You funny.
Because legacy matters, man. So Mike, when you think about, because we're going to be talking about leadership, that's what I do, right? So my thing is working with, business owners, pastors, teams to talk about closing the gap when it talks about being an adaptive leader. So I want each one of you to think about it. We're going to jump into this conversation. Mike,
Right.
when you think about your impact in this city and the role of leadership, what comes to mind?
The ability to be a follower. I think that a lot of people in leadership don't realize that all leaders are followers and were once followers before they ascended to the position of leadership. Another thing that comes to mind is that great leaders create other leaders, and so you don't ever want to be in a position where you're leading, but no one can take your place. You want to be able to create a position and a safe space for people to become leaders, because that way your impact, your legacy, your footprint can begin to spread, because you didn't make it about yourself. You made it about whatever it is that you're leading on.
Yeah. That's good. Marcus, how about you? What do you think about? Okay, Mike, real quick, name me 3 people in your life who impacted you to think the way you think.
That is a great question. One, I would say Coach Zavosik, one of my college basketball coaches. He was one of the first people to really just show how comfortable he was in his own skin, his own style of leadership, because sometimes you can get caught up in the how someone else does things. And with him, I was able to see him take what he did and make it his own. The next person I would probably say is Pastor Archie, Stan Archie. I think for me in the community and showing from where he came from and what he is doing now as an astute doctorate, as a learned person, knowledge-based and wisdom-wise, been able to follow that. And then the third one be you, Pops. I mean, you are everybody's Pops in the city, in the community, from a personal standpoint. Literally the only reason that I'm on this show right now, because I don't do podcasts, but I'll do it for you. And just it's showing your wherewithal, your resolve, your resiliency in your marriage, showing us that the ability to stick it in and show how that works, raising boys, and then being a pillar in the community that is active. And so those are things that I always try to emulate, from those 3 people.
Well, thank you, son. I appreciate it, man. I thank you. Marcus, talk to us, man.
Well, Mike, you forgot to mention, man, just how tremendous of a role model we've been. Look, we can talk. You a legend, Pops.
Right.
Don't they got a park named after you over there?
I don't got that. Yeah, I don't got no park.
We'll give you your flowers while you're here, man. Nah, man, you just amazing. I mean, seriously, bro. So you're solid, super solid dude. So when I think of a leader, of course, you come to mind. And selflessness. I think, I think a key component that you got to have to be a good leader is you got to be selfless, because you got to care about the overall good, not just on personal gain. And just just dedication. Those are the 2 things I think about. Just resiliency and just determination.
Yeah, that's good.
That fighting, man. That matter. I don't want to be. I don't look up to no dudes who don't got no fight in them.
Right.
That right there.
So that's what when I see a leader, I see that. But also first and foremost, just selflessness, man.
Yeah. Okay, Titus, talk to us. Think about leadership, man. What does that mean to you? And the top 3 people who have impacted your mindset and what leadership is.
So when I think about leadership, it's really like being able to take correction, being able to go out here and lead. You actually have to take correction. To become a leader, it calls growth, but how do you grow? It's from being corrected on your actions. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about that, it's like, like Watson said, like you got to be a follower first. Like we was born into this world to be followers. But at the same time, it gets to a point in your life where you develop those skills of being a follower to become a leader. And so when I think about people that impact me to think the way I think, my mother, Joyce Williams, but not just her, single women, honestly, because I watched them day in and day out being, raised by a single mother, but just watch they grind. I can't say I helped 3, people, but I get my motivation pushed when I see, a single mother get up, get them kids ready for school, go to work, come home and cook, and do it all over again, and do it every day without no help, So that's my motivation, my push, you know, from how I think.
Yeah. So
Can I
go
add
ahead, go ahead.
I kind of misunderstood the question. I didn't name anybody. I want to name Stan as well. You know, that dude's he's a beast. I've been rocking with dude for a long time. And you know, he just embodies a lot. I mean, I think the guy's brilliant. He's my personal mentor. You know, I look up to him. You know, I look up to him in a number of ways.
Yeah, he has been a blessing to our family. I know for Andre, you know, he's been there. So for that, I'm appreciative.
That's my guy.
The respect that he gets in the city, man. You know, a lot of people say a prophet is not known amongst their own. I think he's one of them guys. I think he's one of them. So here's the question. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. Should Ja Morant see himself as a leader? If so, why? If not, why not? I just want you to take that in for a minute. Just take that in, because we're going to jump into this conversation, and we're going to hear it. Like I said, I've got some videos, some short snippets of some people that, you know, want to talk about, you know, where he is now and where he used to be. But even with that, what I'm going to use is this process right here. So this is big ups to the Kansas Leadership Center. Marcus, I understand our contract with them. I've been with them for the last 12 or 13 years, and they have taught me tremendously about this concept called adaptive leadership. And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I use this when working with business executives, teams, pastors, folks that are really trying to figure out how do they close the gap on a challenge that they can't seem to make progress on. So the three components are this: observation, interpretation, and intervention. I'm going to say it again. Observation. What do you see? Right? Helping people really hone in on what they're seeing, behaviors, patterns, actions, relationships. And then we go into what's called interpretations. Now, if you only have one interpretation, that's called an opinion. But if you can make sense of what you're seeing with a multiplicity of interpretations, even when some of those interpretations might be considered harsh or tough, it gives you the opportunity to then make multiple interventions or have multiple experiments to help people close the gap on those challenges. So if you hear me using language like, what's your observation of what you see? What's your interpretation of what you've seen? And then we'll go from there. So does that make sense? Any questions? Any questions? All right. So let's go to this first video, and let me tell us what you think. This is his high school.
Ja Morant is one of the NBA's most prolific young players and arguably the best dunker in the league. And while it's easy to say this now in hindsight, he was just as much of a problem at Murray State. Ja only stayed in college for 2 years before he declared for the NBA draft. Yet you wouldn't know it with the amount of incredible individual highlights he was able to rack up, specifically in his sophomore season. Today we're going to take a time machine back to the year 2018 for a look at Ja Morant's top 15 best plays of his college career. Some of these are going to absolutely shock you. Ja Morant came to Murray State as a zero-star recruit in 2017 and went on to average 12.7 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 6.3 assists in his freshman season. His sophomore season, he absolutely exploded onto the national scene and started skyrocketing up the draft charts. Averaging 24.5 points per game and leading the nation in assists with over 10 per game, he led his Murray State Racers to an impressive 26-4 record, an Ohio Valley Conference championship, and an NCAA tournament win over 5th-seeded Marquette. Before we get into this, I want to say that Ja Morant's passing in college is a thing of beauty. And while we couldn't fit many of his assists into this video, I highly encourage you to go back and watch some highlights It's some of the best passing you'll see at the Division I level. By the way, this Murray State team may have had the most hype pregame tradition I've ever seen.
What's your observation?
That boy got bounced.
Okay. Marcus, what do you observe?
Tremendous athlete.
Okay. All right. Michael?
A lot.
What did you see?
A lot early on in life. A lot early on. A lot of success.
Okay.
A lot of success early on.
Okay. Now that might be considered interpretation. What did you see that gave you that?
The fact that they were highlighting his high school accolades in the video.
Yeah. So you see the process. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
a lot of times what we do as humans, we'll see something, we'll jump to an interpretation. That's just normal. That boy, he gonna be the next Jordan. Well, what did you see that tells you he gonna be the next Jordan? Well, his form or their work habit. I've seen da. So helping people separate those two to come to a different way of looking at interpretations is how we get to this. Because remember, here's the question. Should Ja Morant see himself as a leader? If so, why? If so, why not? So here's another video.
Amazing background. I just love the support from your dad, T, and everything he's instilled in you. You know, you had to take a long road to get there, unrecruited, unranked mostly, not recruited heavy. And, you know, you grind through. I love your mentality. But I always got to ask on this show, you know, to our guests, your greatest pivot, your biggest pivot in life.
I can say it's not mine. It's pretty much my pops, but I feel like what he did is both our, you know, biggest pivot where, you know, he stayed back and raised me instead of pursuing his opportunity to, you know, be a professional. And, you know, just hearing that story for me, you know, pretty much made me go harder because I know he had that opportunity, but he didn't do it to raise me, be in my life, which the support comes back into play. But, you know, just hearing that from our background, you know, knowing that it's a lot of people who didn't have father figures in their life, but my pops did that for me. I can say that it was pretty much like my turning point and pretty much made me locked in, you know, on my goal.
Okay. So what did you observe in that conversation, Titus?
Pretty much. I mean, like he said, just from that video, he didn't have like a pivot of his own. It was more so walking in the shadow of his dad, you know? So it's like, is he living in the shadow of his father versus thinking of himself?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now that might be an interpretation, but hold on to that.
Okay.
Right? Hold on to that. Marcus, what did you observe in that conversation?
I mean, mine fall around. I did notice what Titus had just mentioned about him saying it's not his pivot, it's his pops. But, you know, I seen him, you know, recognizing the place, you know, and the impact and the role and the sacrifice his father made for him. You know, yeah. I see him recognizing that. And I observed that, like his, you know, I observed also his appreciation for, like, you know, the sacrifice his parent made for him.
Yeah. Mike, how about you? Now, see what's crazy about this, and me asking Mike this question is like he said, you know, knowing where we come from. Mike made mention in his video being a kid right up the street. He said literally right up the street from UMKC. I never thought, and you fill in the blank. So, Mike, what did you, from your perspective, what did you observe from that conversation?
Hesitation in his answer, and that to me led to another interpretation. So I had to stop myself from doing that initially. But hesitation, and so I think that kind of lends itself to what Titus talked about, you know, if he was living his life because of his father's sacrifice. And I'll go even further in questioning that part as being in his father's footsteps before, you know, how the validity of that, you know. And so I think it's a, to me, and I'm going to go all the way because it is an interpretation, because I did skip it. It's a great story. It's a great narrative, and it fits what you want when you want to put on a persona that you kind of came from. Having. So to me, it's a whole other vantage point than just that his answer itself. It just opens it up for so much more.
Okay, so let's stay right here, because usually what we do with groups is this, because this is what we call a case in point. So
Correct.
Instead of just shutting that down, what's your, Marcus, when you think about what Mike has said and what Titus has said, what's your interpretation of his response? And even some interpretations can be considered tough. Tough interpretations is when we say it might not be the message they want to hear, but it might be the message they need to consider. What you think about that? It might think about your kids. How many times it might not be what they want to hear, but it might be one that you need to consider. So that's what a tough interpretation does. It turns the heat up a little bit, not for argument's sake, but just to make a point. So, Marcus, what are your thoughts about interpretation, about that conversation?
Well, I think he gave an interview answer. You know, just, you know, me personally, you know, he's doing the interview. He wants to say, you know, what's right, but then also come off as authentic, you know. You know, I think that's obvious. But I think a lot of those guys do it. I don't think it was like with intention to be deceptive or nothing like that. But I just think he was giving an interview answer. You know, and then at the same time, you know, acknowledging, like, you know, sacrifices that was made for him to have opportunity. But and then at the same time, you know, just a young person, because what is he, 23?
23.
Brother ain't lived no life yet. His stuff takes off like a rocket, man.
$200 million, 23 years old.
You understand?
That's what Andre B said. He living his best life. He ain't really, you know what I mean?
Right.
Titus, go ahead, Marcus. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you know, you know, that's it for me. I mean, my observation is that I think he gave an interview answer. So, you know.
Okay. And that might, and some people might consider that
too much time with my answer.
No, man. No, we talking that. Some people might say, well, that's how do you know that? Well, what we say is your interpretation is fair because that's your interpretation. Case in point. So let's say there's a car wreck in an intersection, and there's 4 people on each intersection. There's going to be 4 different observations, 4 different interpretations for the same car wreck. So the police officer, Titus, is going to come and go to each one to gather information to make sure what he gets is true. So there's no such thing as, man, that ain't right. You don't have the right to tell Marcus what his interpretation is wrong. You know what I mean? You have the right to tell Michael that his interpretation is wrong. That's his fact. That's his observation. Titus, interpretation.
Man, you know, kind of like what Marcus was saying. I mean, of course, like an interview response, but then it's like, is he really living out his full dream? You know, are you just doing this because of your father? You know, he kind of, you know, sacrificed some things for you. So are you sacrificing what you really want to do to please him? And so I think with him being so young, he, you know, his response, like, he never thought about this, you know, like he's just out playing basketball, you know what I'm saying? So he's not really thinking about like the fullness of what he really got himself into, you know? And so, of course, a lot of times we see his dad on the sideline, like, you know, being his cheerleader, but causing a lot of confusion, commotion, you know, and it pours over, you know, to him. So, you know, it's kind of like he just, you know, he kind of lost and confused trying to figure things out.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you the same question that Fred asked him. Mike, what was the biggest pivot in your life?
The biggest pivot in my life was, man, that's a great question. The biggest pivot, I think, for me was choosing to stay home versus going away for college. I think, and even that had factors that played into my decision and why I chose to stay home. It wasn't all because I just, wanted to be there. It was family things that happened and me looking at the bigger picture and me deciding to stay home. I think for me, that was the biggest pivot in my life that impacted the rest of my life, today.
Yeah, that's good. Marcus, up to this point, what's the biggest pivot of your life? You're muted. You're muted, Marcus.
Yeah, sorry, my kids is running around here. I had to mute it real quick. But now, for me, man, it happened when I was younger. I'm 40 now. Happened.
Wow.
The biggest pivot in my life.
I'm 40 now. Like,
hey, I still got the mind of a young guy, so in the spirit of a young guy, so I can't believe I'm 40 half the time. Now, anyway.
Yeah.
Nah, so I was younger, man, when I was looking at a lot of time in prison. And God had to intervene to spare me that. And that's been the biggest, because my life has been, I was living completely one way. Then I was like, I can't do that. I saw, God woke me up, showed me where I was headed, and I was like, man, I can't do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it with this one of these I get. That was my biggest pivot, looking at 30 to life. I was 18.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But that was
Titus.
so long ago, but I've been I've been living my best life ever since. You know what I mean? For me, I think so. I'm glad that,
that's
God,
good, man.
Showed his hand on, showed his hand in that point of my life.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Titus.
I think more so for me, it was just in high school. My mom, she was married at the time. My sophomore year of high school, her husband, he came home one day, he just walked out, never came back, So it was a decision if I was going to continue to play sports or if I was going to go and hold down a job. So I had to give up sports and go hold down a job. And that's the uniqueness about Ozell brand, is because, I didn't get to pursue that sports life like some people did, but growing up, like, we couldn't afford certain shoes and cleats and everything like that. So why not allow your purpose that God give you to bring light and bring that closeness back to the community. So, making shoes and cleats and stuff actually helped me relive, that high school days of playing sports. So
Yeah. Hey, Vicky said, Marcus, you still young. She said, hang in there, brother. You keep living. You still young.
I know,
young buck.
I know. I'm just looking at the time from the time it's been since that. Nobody. I've never been asked that question before. So
That's I get it. I get it. I think my pivot came. I was at a real bad place with my drug addiction and then all that kind of stuff. And I went to a men's conference, and that was the first time I got to cry with my dad's death. You know what I mean? And I had a hole in my heart as big as the planet, and I was trying to fill it with everything other than God. And so it was when my pivot came when I finally got to cry. And my dad had been dead 14 years, and I didn't get it. I didn't. And me, it wasn't like my dad. I came in a 2 household, right? My dad didn't go to none of my games. That just wasn't his thing. But he did 2 jobs. He made sure the house lights was on and all that and carrying on. So it was. I think that was it for me. That was the pivot for me. But let me ask y'all a question as far as how you go about looking at these little jobs y'all got. All these potential jobs you got. Mentality. Ozell brand. Your boys. Your daughter just signed a scholarship to go to Drury. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So how do you see yourself thinking about the coaches Ja had? How do you see yourself as you impart life from a leadership perspective into the kids you coach? Don't you think about that? Because I've had coaches tell me, I coached 30 some years. Coaches told me what they do outside the field ain't none of my business. I beg to differ now. When you find out that maybe your practice, your court, your field might be the safest place they know, you are that guy. You are that woman. So when you think about how you coach now, and you think about it, Mike, how does your mindset pour into these little jobs that you got?
I mean, I think with time comes wisdom. I think with youth comes a lot of mistakes. And I think the things that I would have done, even at 30, I'll be 43 this year. So even at 33 is different, definitely different from 23. And so with that time, you see the things that work and you see the things that don't work. And then with God's grace, you're able to kind of see the fruits of their labor in the little jobs that you have when they do grow up and they are, you're still in contact with them and they do make mistakes, but they also make really solid decisions. And so I think for me, it's important to emulate the life for them that they feel like they want to have. They feel like they want to be a professional athlete, but breaking it down to them about what all goes into becoming a professional athlete is not everything that you see. From who you're friends with, from who you associate with, from where you choose to go, from how you choose to sleep and rest and what you choose to put into your body. All those little intangibles that they don't see, they don't understand initially, you're able to see that and they're able to see that. So it looks different. But when you have a young man like a John Moran at 23, his mind still isn't developed. So I look at him like I would look at an Alex Gunnels or a senior in high school. I look at them and their influences that they have in a completely different environment, completely different world with social media, where they're overly influenced, where it takes away from their ability to discover who they are and who they want to be. So it's so much that goes into it. It makes you almost feel bad for them, But this is from a grandfather's heart now. This isn't from when I was 23 years old, I was doing the same thing, So it's a different set. But like Marcus said, we're still young enough to be in touch and in tune with those young people, but we're old enough to have lived a little bit of wisdom, so we understand, like, hey, man, you headed down this road on slippery slope with bad tires right now.
I saw a podcast with Kevin Garnett, and the truth that I wanted to use, but it would take out all my day just trying to bleep out all the good all the stuff.
Right.
But he was talking about they don't have OGs.
Very much.
They don't have cats like y'all or older. Because I saw Meta World Peace. He said, "Man, let me get at you. Man, let me talk to you. You know what I mean?" Versus, because you can turn this thing around. And so, if you in your 40s and you're considered an OG, then I know I'm considered, a troglodyte, caveman, dead, but quadruple, absolutely, right. So, Marcus, what are your thoughts when you think about the kids that you coach and think about how you raised your daughter and made her the success, helped her become the success that she is?
Man, we had to drag her kicking and screaming the whole now. I mean, because I got a 18-year-old daughter, bro, and she got a lot of my personality. So, it was rough. It's just kind of, you get to that point where, raising a teenager, and, some of y'all have already. Titus, you don't know if your kids are teenagers yet, but you got it coming. I know you do. But nah, man, they change on you, bro. You're like, who are you, bro? I don't know you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they start getting their own opinion. And I kind of look at that same thing with, a lot of the guys that we've coached. Like, the generation is different. You know what I mean? So it's a different approach. We were forced to, I think the basketball program, when me and Mike was thinking about a name, it kind of just named itself because it was something we kept saying all the time about talking about that generation and the younger guys. That word mentality just kept coming up. Just in our conversation, just back and forth before we even picked the name of the program. Literally, it just kind of did it itself because the mindsets of these kids. So my approach, I used to be critical of them at first before I was like, "Dang, bro, like I ain't getting nowhere just being critical." You know what I mean? Like that's because it's like it's the opposite of what my culture is, how I was brought up. We were the time is different. You know, it just is.
Yeah.
I heard a guy the other day say this, and it stuck with me. He said, hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. So he just kept going and kept going. And I was like, man, I agree with that because, you know, in a sense, I won't call them a weak generation, but you know, coming from the 60s and the 70s where civil rights was a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then going through like what we went through the 80s and the 90s where it was the crack era where they was, you know, us kids had to come up with and fatherless homes, right? And then to this generation where we're trying to give them everything.
That's good.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And then them having to find, you know, like I think John's having an identity issue.
For sure.
But you know, for the generation, when you look at them, you say, man, you know, I look at them because I think they soft. A lot of them just in they mental, right?
Yeah.
They break down over anything. Something small happen, they falling apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, hey man, you know, you gotta have more resilience to you to that. You know what I mean? So this world got an ugly thing waiting out that door. You know, so
Lord have mercy.
Just trying to instill that grit. You know what I mean? That determination, because it's like, dude, you know, it ain't that something's gonna be easy. You have to be more determined than the obstacle course, man. You know what I mean? And that's you know, that's kind of where we just try to, you know, make an impact because, you know, everything, it ain't all good like, you know, like they try to make it seem.
Yeah. Coach Witten, the young man over here in KCK, he's from Wichita. He says all you can do is plant a seed. They have to make an independent decision on how they'll apply the tools given or if they'll even do it. Free will is God-given, and we can circumvent or manipulate that process. So that's coming from another coach's perspective. So Titus, what about you, man? Yes, yeah. Titus, what about you, man? Unmute and
well, you know, I'm not doing my coaching thing like you brothers or anything like that. I'll leave it to Mr. Watson. Nah, but on a serious note, man, it's just, you know, like you said, the mentality. You know, I think like growing up, I mean, that's all we did was play ball. You know, I mean, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, you already outside, you know, whether you hooping, football, you name it, you know. And I think it was just more of like the respect level that we had growing up, you know, like we'd get into it. We fight, we cool the next day, you know, it's competitive of sports, you know.
Yeah.
But I think now it's like, even if they did have quote unquote OGs, like some of them do, but they think like, oh, you don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like even, you know, like older generation, you know, you have cats that's in your corner that's solid, you know. Oh, Dad, you don't know, you don't understand. It's like, what you mean? Like I live this life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think like now this generation is more set up to succeed than anything. You know, when I look at like the sports camps, you know, when I look at all these different shooting drills and all these different the technology, you know, just to get these kids to the next level, it's like, dang, where was that when when we was growing up? You know what I'm saying? So when it goes back, it is the mentality, you know, the respect factor. You know, you got to respect yourself first. You know, if you want to do something great, you got to respect yourself first, you know, before you respect anybody else, you know. So I remember football practice, man, when I played South Suburban, Coach Donald Washington, man, I used to hate when I hear his van coming down that parking lot, man, because I knew like guidance was coming, a father figure was coming. You know what I'm saying? All those things was coming. I wasn't used to it, you know? So when he came, it was structure, you know? And so it was like, yeah, you know, because the minute you slip up, man, that's like bear crawls up the hill, you know? Dang, Coach, we ain't doing nothing else. Nah, that's it. You're going to learn to respect, you know, y'all young men. So I just think like this generation, you know, there's hope for them, but they're lost, you know? And I think like their pride, you know, their pride is getting the best of them.
Yeah. See, this is the reason for this conversation. Because people need to hear. I think there are a lot of amazing voices out there that don't get airtime, like y'all. Now, folks say, "Well, Mike has a big platform," and he does, but there's not. I don't know how often the Mikes of the world, or the Marcuses of the world, or Tituses of the world can be just open and transparent about something like this. You know what I mean? because it may not be politically correct to say this or politically correct to say that. So let's look at this video and tell me what you see.
Grizzly star Ja Morant has been suspended for a second time after once again appearing to flash a gun on social media. The video circulated on Saturday night. It shows Morant with what appears to be a handgun while he's riding in a friend's car. Yesterday, the Grizzlies said they were aware of the video and suspended Morant from all team activities pending league review. In March, Morant was suspended for 8 games after he was seen holding a gun inside a nightclub on Instagram Live. A representative for Morant did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
Okay. What did you observe? Mic is open.
I think you observed a lack of proper decision making on his part.
That's an interpretation. Where did you get that from?
The fact that he flash gun, not a proper decision, even though it's legal, even though it's registered.
Good.
It's the optics of what he chose to do and the position that he's in. So that's why I said it was a lack of a better decision of a good decision.
Great segue, because remember, this is the question when we get to the end. Titus, what did you observe?
Yeah, I observe, with him brandishing a firearm, which here in Kansas City, that's considered a city charge, so it is a criminal offense, even though it is legal to carry firearms, but you can't just brandish it like that. You know what I'm saying? So okay. Watson said, that's bad judgment, not thinking.
Okay. Marcus, what did you observe?
I saw him showing his pistol, showing off his pistol.
Okay. What's your interpretation?
My interpretation is that he's a kid. I think that's like Mike said, immature decision making, and I think it has something to do with his maturity level, just personally. To me, I mean, he's a fantastic athlete, which put him in the position that he's in. How gifted he is, and the gift that God gave him, the ability to play ball. But he's immature. That's it's a kid move.
Mike, let's go back to your interpretation. He just had a conversation with the league commissioner 2 months ago. What's your interpretation, Mike? That's the observation.
You know how many times I've told my child to do something and had the same conversation with him in less than 2 months, like two minutes later, 2 hours later, 2 days later, the same shoe is in the same place that it shouldn't be when we walk in the house. So it's a matter of that. We expect him to be more mature. We expect him to be because of his platform. But the reality is we're seeing he is an example of what society in his generation have become so massively and easily influenced by social media, by the culture of social media. People want to say it's hip hop influence. All of those are just little contributing factors, but it's the influence of the culture that has become social media, of having to show who you are, having to show your toughness, having to show your wealth, having to show all those things so everyone else can see. And he's become a victim of it, but he's not the only victim. He's just the one that's going to get the 6 o'clock, headlines.
Yeah. Let's check this video out.
So, Kenny, you tell me, what would be appropriate punishment?
Well, I think before we get to punishment, Ernie, I think we need to understand the situation and the levity of the situation. A lot of people say, well, what did he do? He flashed a gun. Some people are going to say there, and then other people are saying, hey, this guy is flashing a gun, and that's serious offense. The NBA has a morality clause that in everyone's contract. Let's start there. That expresses about violence, racism, all types of different things that can be considered morality. Flashing guns will be part of that. And when Adam Silver brings you in the office and says, we're going to suspend you a game, and this is part of the morality clause while you're going to do it, then you do it again, there's something wrong with you. I hear a lot also, Charles and Shaq, about, he's got to get new friends. It gets to a point, it's not your friends, it's you. It isn't your friends. Or maybe you're the friend that they shouldn't be around.
Okay. He said it's you, it's not your friends, or maybe you're the friend they should not be around. Because I know my first interpretation was his boy that got in trouble the last time at the basketball game. Got into it with the Indiana Pacers outside. How is that your partner? And he's videotaping it and he does that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts about what Kenny just said? And the mic is open. I'm not going to call anybody. Whoever wants to come in first. What are your thoughts about about responsibility that Ja Morant has with this second violation? Anybody's mic is open.
Well, I mean, he's not a baby, so of course it's on him. You know, I mean, they took him in the office and they talked to him. You know, like getting in trouble at school. You know, yeah, it's him. You know, of course it's him. And I think it's, you know, it has a lot to do with what Mike was talking about in regards to culture. Like, this is how he wants to identify, right? He wants us to view his perception of himself instead of being like, and I remember like with Allen Iverson, it was a lot of the same thing because he was clowning the same way. It just wasn't social media around there. Because AI was, you know, AI was he was probably more of a trip than dude. You know what I mean? Seriously. So, but you know, that's him. He wants to be perceived as this, and I think, you know, a part of a lot of people's frustration is hey man, you know, because again, it's the music that he playing, it's what he's trying to personify. People trying to say he's trying to look gangster, which is what rappers do, you know. So you got this basketball player, because if he was a rapper, well, now ain't nobody gonna say nothing about him having no gun or no Instagram.
Wow. Okay.
Like, nah, it's the last thing you're gonna say something about. You know, that's normal.
Keep that point, because his last videos he gonna speak to that.
That's a fact. Like if he was a rapper, you know, heck, baseball players and all that, them dudes hunt. They show. Wow. You know, I mean, and they would say it's a different context, but sometimes they just showing what they got. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, the media always has to have something going, but at the same time, you know, it is a morality clause, like he said. It's like, dude, this is their brand. This is who pay you. And for me, I'm leveraging, you know, I'm not about to leverage this $200 million to be trying to look cool, you know, but that's the frustration, you know what I mean? Because I think it was, you know, like with a lot of folks with them, like some people are just genuinely like, you know, oh man, he ain't do nothing wrong. He illegal gun opener, ain't nothing against the law about what he did. And then you got the people who recognize the business side of things, like, man, look, dude, this is, you know, you work for the NBA, bro. Like, you know, you signed a contract to conduct yourself a certain way, and you breaking that contract.
Right.
You know, we're not gonna just let you do it so other people can do it because you Ja Morant, you popular in the league. I think if it was anybody else, they would do the same thing. You know what I mean? Okay. Like seriously, if they on live and they promoting and the music you playing, you playing NBA YoungBoy. We know what that is. You know, I think the funny thing they saying, I'm gonna get out here, but you know, they calling him NBA dumb boy. That's the funny. Tickle me, man.
Yeah. So Mike, you was in the league, and when you from your experience, and he just lost $39 million the first time. I think that's what the number was, and it's highly probable it may double, if not more than that, this time. So just the economics of the loss, when we're talking about making smart decisions and just calculating the loss. Mike, what are your thoughts on how the NBA should respond, is going to respond, and how he should take responsibility?
Well, first of all, that $39 million ain't nothing to him, because what's guaranteed is guaranteed. That $230 million contract, he can't. They're not going to cancel that. So he's going to get that money. He's going to lose some endorsements and things like that, but he has the ability to recoup those if he does well and he shows signs of progress. I think what the NBA has to do is really come alongside of him and understand. Try to understand where he's coming from. What's his real cry? Because there's something behind that. It's not just it's not just, you know, him trying to be a bad boy, because he's not. He's from a 2-parent home, middle-class family, you know, 3 meals a day, hot in the cot, you know. So he didn't come from the struggle. But he's trying to integrate himself into that culture of saying, hey, I've come from nothing. He mentioned it in that first interview, you know, my pops gave up this so that I could go and he could come and raise me. Well, we all know I'm not going to say we all know, but to me, that's not true. You know, if you have opportunity to go and make money to support your family playing basketball, you're going to go and do it. You know, but I think that's a story that his father has told and sold to him, which fueled his hunger. I'm not saying it's wrong parenting. I'm just saying that that's what he truly believes. So that he's like, my father sacrificed. So now he feels like he owes his father. He's indebted to his father. Now he has to allow his father to live his life through him, which is tough, because now I want to please my father, but I also want to be who I am. Ja could be he could be, you know, like Tupac. You know, Tupac was you know, knew Beethoven and you know, could recite Shakespeare, and, you know, was a highly intuitive and intelligent young man, you know, but he lived the thug life mantra, you know, from his Black Panther parents. So that influence is there. Who do I want to live up to? My parents, or I want to live up to, you know, be who I really am. So that's a tough place to be in. So I think the NBA, and they'll do their due diligence. You know, they already got, you know, full-time security. So I'm sure they'll make sure they're telling this dude, understanding, you know, the importance. And I think that shock will wake him up. It'll grow him up a little quicker than what he probably would have been. But he needs that counseling. He needs that therapy to be able to say, hey, I can just be myself and I'll be just as cool. I'll be just as, you know, as popular. But he's in Memphis, man. Like Memphis and the influence of the culture, the influence of the people there. I mean, you got NBA YoungBoy walking you out, you know, into your NBA arenas now. You know, so the hip hop culture is influential. The rappers, they're all there. Some of them might really live that life, and Ja is, you know, he's appeasing to them. So, you know, that every baller wanted to be a rapper, every rapper wanted to be a baller, and so that those worlds always intercollide. You know, and so for him, I don't think the NBA will suspend him because they have to, but I think they'll also come alongside with him resources to help him.
Yeah. So here's the last video, and this is OG Percy. Now he's out of Fort Worth, Texas. And Marcus, you literally segued into this conversation. So let's check this out. It's about a 3-minute video.
Hey, real tone, there's some real money in the room.
Ja Morant has been in the news a lot here lately.
Who?
Ja Morant, star basketball player for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
Young star basketball player. It hasn't been for his basketball play. He recently was, you know, this is a pretty much a $200 million man. Recently was saw on Instagram Live brandishing a firearm. He's a star NBA basketball player for the Memphis Grizzlies, and he's been in the news lately for allegedly being a Crip, having guns, showing them.
But you can't go to jail for being, being a Crip is it's freedom of speech. Don't nobody get mad because they got ABs, AC, every brotherhood, Mexican. You can be that, but we got to be in something else. Keep going, Bob.
So the kicker is that he's a basketball phenom, big homie.
Okay.
He's an all-star, rookie of the year. Yeah, he's a
you say
great
rookie
player.
of the year?
He was rookie of the year his rookie season.
Okay.
So to see him behaving like this, come from a 2-parent home, it's just it's kind of questionable activity, and it's a lot of questions on his character, because a lot of people saying that he didn't grow up like that. He's a good kid, and now he's.
Who are they talking about? Him?
Talking about him.
So they just give their opinions.
That's what it seems like.
That's what we know. So is he in trouble?
Yeah, he's in trouble. I think they recently just dropped the cases in Denver. You know that he.
What kind of cases?
He's an NBA player, big homie, and he's not supposed to be doing that. He's behaving like.
What is he not supposed to be doing,
he's
Bob?
on Instagram Live with pistols, man.
Bob, I'm asking you, what law have he broken as far as a crime? Will he kill somebody with the mother?
Nah,
you said, watch this, Bob. Get this, Bob. You say he's an NBA player.
Yes, sir.
On live with pistols.
Yes, sir.
Time out. Stay right there. Boy, cause I'm glad you brought that up.
Come on.
Let's play a little chess. NBA, so that says a lot right there. I'm gonna let you soak in that for a minute. I heard what you said. He's not supposed to be doing that, Percy. He's supposed to be a role model? Watch this. Let's say this. Long as we ain't saying he's a thug gangbanger with pistols. Which one you scared of? The basketball player with the gun or the gangsters with the gun? Look, that young, yeah, him over there with the big gun, bigger than the basketball player. Cause we know one thing about a basketball player. Let's make it make sense. Can you hit me, Bob? Hurry up.
Make it make sense on the Bob report.
Because we know he legal. He ain't no threat. He can have that. He ain't slide. He got a career behind him. He can't have no kind of gun. He can have a gun. It's not against the law. It's open law carry now. So goddamn, we supposed to hide them? What the gun's supposed to be, a curse? It's on the curse. I see on here with deer hunting guns and white boys sitting there with their guns out. It's never a problem. But to see a black man with a gun, just because of his profession, what is he doing? Is he talking about killing somebody with it? No. Is he doing threats of violence with the gun? No. He probably just sitting up there saying, I'm just the same type of brother y'all is, but I'm making it. I know what this is for. I got a basketball career. I don't have a murder case. I don't have cases pending. I've never been in trouble. I'm just saying. I'm trying to make it make sense.
It's an interesting take on that.
Them guys over there, them the ones you need to be scared of. This man got a whole career. But you know what they trying to do, Bob? Ask me, tell me, see what they trying to do, Percy.
What they trying to do, Percy?
They trying to turn him into one of them. You hear me? They see you making it in any type of way because they know one thing, you're legit. Understand me?
Okay. Thoughts, Titus. Real quick, what's your thoughts?
OG, triple OG. I mean, I get it, like Marcus said, people, they post hunting pictures, everything like that. But when you go back to the culture of just like the black community, like hip hop, like that's the image, like that's the image that you will see, when you're thinking about like hip hop, cats walking around here with guns and everything like that, it's like me, I'm a police officer. That don't give me a right to behold my gun, flash that mug while I'm on Instagram Live or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Because people are gonna be saying like, man, wanna be thug, he a cop and everything like that. But because of my profession, I was like, dang, like why he posting like that? So for me, it's like when it comes to, like I said earlier, that's brandishing a weapon.
Right.
The way that you hold your gun and flash it around, that's brandishing, a weapon, And so, I don't know, I just think you got to kind of, think differently, and going back to his friend that actually, recorded it, it's kind of like, you should be holding him accountable. You shouldn't even want to record nothing knowingly, whether he knew or not, hey, we just gonna ride, do our thing, but I ain't even gonna, record you or nothing like that, But it's just like, where's accountability at? I don't want people around me that's not gonna hold me accountable,
Right. So here's the question: should Ja Morant see himself as a leader? Yes or no, Titus?
I believe he should. Like I said, we all make dumb decisions, but from those dumb decisions of being a follower, sooner or later you become a leader. Everybody on live on this right now are leaders. Marcus used to, like he said, he used to be in the streets. He was, he followed after something or somebody, to where he got other little cats following him. Now he's a leader. He could walk in a room and change the atmosphere, or even change the heart of a young man, a youth, a young man or a young woman based off of his leadership skills. Same way with Mike.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like he has that, you know what I'm saying? Like he followed once before, listening to his coaches, his mentors, like they said, Pastor Archie. But now guess what? As they follow in those footsteps, they came into the creation of being a leader. So now guess what they do? They go out here and create other leaders, So I truly believe that he's a leader, you know, but he has to know that within himself, because like my youngest son, you know, it's funny, like his favorite rapper is NLE Chopper. I didn't even know who that was. You know what I'm saying? My son 9, you know, but at the same time, like that's a leader to him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he's leading you by, but that's his, you know, he's a leader to him, you know, so I think, you know, that's something that he should think about.
Okay. Michael Watson, thoughts on what you heard from OG Percy, and should Ja see himself as a leader? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think he talked from the perspective that is his own. I think, you know, just because you're an OG, you're still an OG. You could be have a doctorate in front of your name, but you're only a doctorate of one subject matter. And I think that when the OG speaks, he's speaking from one subject matter, from one slant, from one point of view. Doesn't make it wrong. It makes it, like you said at the beginning, his point of view, his interpretation, right? His interpretation had a lot of truth in it. You know, if it's a white boy, if it's a black boy who hunts and they got guns out there, it's not seen as that. You know, Titus makes the point, but if you brandish it in a fashion that's warranted, then that'll be a charge. You know, and so should he see himself as a leader? Yes, because he's a point guard. So we got to turn it from my perspective, from a basketball perspective. He's the coach on the floor as the point guard. You know, and so what he hasn't understood yet, and in his immaturity, because his brain is still forming, because he's only 23, he's got till 25, 26 for him to be completely formed, he's understanding that translates off the floor. Some of us caught that early in life because we came from where basketball was our only outlet. He had possibly had different outlets to do things, 2-parent home, stable environment. Me, single mom, brother in prison, you know, dibbling, dabbling, acting a fool. Basketball became, you know, my point, became my Northern Star, right? So it's like with him, he's a point guard. He has to lead on the floor. His teammates follow him. His coaching staff follow him. They trust him to make the right decision with the ball on the offensive end, defensive end. Off the floor, he has to see himself in the same way, right? It's not how other people see you. It's how you see yourself, you know, and you changing that mindset for yourself and saying, hey, I'm a leader on and off the floor, not just on the floor. You know, I don't hold any, you know, but if I'm a $20 million man, I'm around my guys, I'm around Marcus, and I might do something stupid, and Marcus don't tell me to chill out. Marcus ain't really my man, you know. And, you know, he ain't gonna be like, nah, we 200 million, you know, because Ja feeding everybody, you know, everybody eating who around Ja when you're a $200 million man. So I'm not gonna mess up the dinner plate. I'm gonna be like, nah, we gonna chill this out. You know, but it's an opportunity. So many things I've seen, I've heard, even in his second time, I still see it as an opportunity to grow. So you don't throw the young man away. You let him know his consequences of his actions, you know, but you give him a third chance. Because really, from a legal matter, he didn't do anything. The morale clause in the NBA is there. You can't be a person that's going out here doing silly things and shining a negative light on the NBA. So he's going to have to pay for that. But he's far from done. He's too much of a talent. And if you know Ja, you hear him speak, he's just like your little cousin, he's just like your little nephew. He's like those little dudes out there. He's enjoying life at 23 years old, you know, from what his perspective of what enjoyment is. You know, 20 years ago, that was my enjoyment. Now ain't no way. But it's just different, man. So I think it's an opportunity more than anything. And that's the one thing that I always want to hammer home, like, it's an opportunity to pour into this young man's life, because like Titus said, one day he'll become a Marcus. One day he'll become a Pops. He'll become a Titus. He'll become those young people who are the leader. He's like, hey, man, I learned from experience. I don't want you to learn from me telling you.
Yeah. Titus, Marcus, how about you? What did you hear from OG, and should he see himself as a leader?
Yeah, he should definitely. I mean, even if he don't see himself as a leader, he's misidentifying himself, and it happens. You know, he's probably he sees he got his own perception that he wants. And I tell people all the time, you know, your self-perception is always different from, you know, other people's perception. His perception of himself is probably not, you know, what everybody wanted to esteem him to be.
Right.
23-year-old dude that got money fast at 23, that kind of money.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I know, you know, it'll be some mistakes I'll be making if I was in that position too. I'm not going to judge this dude. You hear me? I'm not finna do it. Now, you know, he definitely, you know, he gonna grow up, you know, but he's 23 and he lost what? How much? 69 million or something like that, or something like that. But he got 200 million at 23, and he just 23. Right?
Mike said it ain't no money though. He said that ain't
not to him.
Not to him.
Yeah.
And that's 20. That's being 23 years old. So
yeah.
You know, so and man, this is he being who he is. You know, the bug out was that he kept doing it. Like what OG said, it was like, you know, his thinking may be where, you know, big homie thinking is like, hey man, I ain't did nothing, because you see the perception he trying to put out there, like the train of thought he following, the school of thought he following. He said in front of all these guys, I'm pretty sure he had legends calling him. This is the dude that's in the NBA. They met with the NBA commissioner. I'm pretty sure like Magic Johnson and these type dudes from, you know, just the history of basketball reached out to him. I'm sure LeBron said something to him. You know, I'm pretty sure they kind of try to finesse that situation to where they get people in this ear that they can help influence them. I'm pretty sure Steph reached out to him. You know what I mean? Because he's a big fan of Steph Curry. You know, that's, you know, I heard him say that. So you know, this guy, he's a young dude, man. You know, like Mike said, I know people right now that if you gave them $200 million,
$200,
they gonna mess it up.
$200.
Like, I'm pretty sure y'all know somebody, bruh.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I got cousins, I got people that I know. I'm like, man, if you gave this dude $200 million, I bet you $300 million he mess it up. You know what I'm saying? And he just happened to be one of them people, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not to say this dude got no redemption. It's like, dude, some of my best lessons I learned them the hard way, bro. And I think, you know, this cat is kind of in that space, you know, but, you know, he need to recognize how blessed he is, because he's in a position to be making mistakes where he brandished a gun, which is a misdemeanor, right? A city charge, right? But he's paying for it with his reputation. You know what I mean? And in his right to do business. You know, he right now he doesn't value his name because he probably feels like it's them, you know, young people versus older people, and how they do stuff versus how we do stuff. You know, I got an 18-year-old in my house. That's kind of, you know, what I deal with her. But what he gonna learn is the NBA rules, or they rules, and they ain't changing them for him.
Right. Yeah. Well, man, look, we have reached what's called our time. I appreciate y'all. We went over our time boundary, but man, y'all are some amazing. Thank y'all. Like I said, this has been really a treat for me as we're launching Pop's Corner again, and really gonna get back into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and y'all are some amazing dudes. Thank y'all. I love y'all, man, with everything I got, man. But y'all don't know it, but if I die before y'all I need to come to the will reading. One of y'all gonna get comic books, somebody gonna get and somebody gonna get some throwback jerseys. That's all I'm saying.
I need the 200 million, Pops.
I'm working
I need
on
what
that.
Ja lost.
I know that's right. Yeah. But love y'all, man. Thank y'all so much.
Appreciate you, Pops.
And man, y'all keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I'm really, 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 really proud of you.
Hey, thank you for having me, Pops.
I appreciate it.
All right. Number invite y'all over. I ain't broke the fire pit in yet, so we have to break it in on a Friday night, man, when y'all get loose. Y'all come over to the countryside.
Ooh, that's tough. I'm gonna have to have Titus with me. I'm gonna have to have Titus.
Look, we're gonna have to have some straps then.
We're gonna have to.
Yes, sir.
Going to KCK.
Boy, y'all gonna make me say something I can't say in public. Pastor Walker said, "Don't say what everything's at the back of your throat." I'm trying to learn that, brother. I'm learning. But love y'all, man. Thank y'all so much. And Lord willing, we'll be back here next week. For those who've been watching, thank y'all for watching. And say a prayer for my brothers. I mean, say a prayer for them. We're gonna say a prayer for y'all and for Ja. And look, we'll see y'all next week.